Welcome back to Game On. I'm Anna Kakarakis. For a long period of time, the health and fitness industry was dominated by male physical trainers, athletes, and personalities. Historically, one may remember the godfather of fitness, Jack LaLanne, or 7-time Mr. Olympia winner, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and even fitness guru turned television personality, Richard Simmons. However, in the last 10 years or so, women have risen to the fitness spotlight, as is the case of personal trainer Jillian Michaels, who's also known for her part in NBC's The Biggest Loser. While women have made their way to the fitness forefront of personal trainers and the like, few have been able to successfully open their own fitness facilities. Which brings us to Ashley Selman. Ashley Selman is the founder and owner of Evolution Trainers in Mountain View, California. Opened in 2006, Ashley started her facility with only 7 trainers. Today, her team has expanded to 40, including the original 7 from 2006. She credits her diverse team of women and men for making her studio one of the most successful gyms in the Bay Area and within the fitness industry, an industry that's still dominated by men. Our very own Kate Rooney has the story.
I was sort of used to being in sort of male-dominated fields, and it didn't really bother me that much, honestly. So I don't think when I got into opening a studio, it didn't really cross my mind a whole lot, like, you know, I'm going into a field that, you know, not many women are doing. So it sort of never really crossed my mind to hold me back or to not go for it.
Ashley Selman, a 2-time NCAA champion in javelin throwing, is now something of a champion in the fitness world as well. As co-founder of Evolution Trainers in Mountain View and a business coach, she's found a way to make her mark in what's always been a traditionally male-dominated industry. Were there any challenges that you ended up facing because you were a woman?
I think, you know, it's such a hard question to answer because I think there's so many challenges that are sort of insidious that we don't necessarily even realize when we're in it. I think that people can have a lot of assumptions about you. I think that, you know, there's always the question, am I going to get the same level of respect, both from other sort of owners out in the industry as well as my own employees or staff. But I also think there's some strengths that go along with it. And I think being a woman, I have a pretty good sense of people and I have a pretty good people skills. Not that that's necessarily only a female trait, but I do think I have a little higher sensitivity to people and being empathetic, and I think it actually has made me a really good leader. I have great retention of the people on my team, and I think that's partly because they feel cared for, they feel heard. I look at them as peers. I don't look at them as I'm their boss. You know, they're peers. They're really, really talented professionals, and I feel like my job is to support them and help them be successful. And I think that message resonates with people, and they like being in that kind of environment.
So in a way, it's kind of been an advantage to be a woman in this industry.
I do feel like it's helped me probably more than hurt me.
Jen Dietz is a physical trainer at Evolution Trainers. A former figure skater, Jen is now a happily married wife with 1 child and another on the way. Having met Ashley more than 10 years ago, Jen explains to us how being a woman has helped her as a physical trainer. How do you feel like being a woman has been an advantage in this industry?
Well, that's exactly it. That advantage is really kind of getting on that level with other women. And even for some men are not, you know, like the gung-ho jock athlete. Some guys are a little bit more sensitive. Sometimes they don't want this overpowering super buff trainer, or they want, you know, a female that's a little bit more sensitive, right? And so, you know, that way you can also progress their fitness level, their, you know, everything that they're focusing on. You can, again, shift that focus instead of being this competitive, you know, guy to guy. Because usually sometimes when my clients work with male trainers, sometimes they do get a little bit more competitive and they feel like, oh, I've got to do the weight that they want me to do, or I've got to do this exercise that they want me to do, even though it might not be a good fit for that client. So that's sort of the advantage, the pro.
So on the other side of the coin, what have been some of the biggest obstacles you've faced by being a woman in the fitness industry?
I would say when I was single, before I was married and had children, it wasn't as noticeable. But now that I am on, child number 2, definitely it's tricky trying to schedule out, daycare, childcare. Now it's no longer about my availability and what I can open up to my clients, but it's, wait, who's going to watch my kid? Is daycare open? If my kid is sick, I've got to cancel my clients because I can't, drop my kid off at school. So that's definitely one of the more challenging aspects, is being an active mom and a working mom and trying to juggle home, work, life balance. But it's not that it's not doable. It's definitely doable. You just have to find the right resources to help you get through that, whether it's having a au pair or babysitter or finding a daycare that opens at 5:30 or 6 a.m. That's a little tricky.
I mean, Beatrice, you want to be my bodyguard now? Need some protection. Yeah, I know. I know.
Let's throw it back to the beginning. How did you first become interested in fitness training?
Well, I was an athlete in college and after college, and sort of had a couple years of like, what am I going to do now? Was feeling a little lost in my life. Thought I was going to end up coaching at a university. So I was coaching track and field at Stanford, and needed to make a little extra money because being a new coach is not the most highest paying profession. So I got into personal training really sort of on a fluke, or sort of on thought it was going to be a temporary thing.
So when did you decide to take that leap and open your own gym, Evolution Trainers?
I worked at another gym for about 6 years, and then I left there and trained as an independent trainer out of about 5 other different studios. Just really researching what I liked, what I didn't like, what business models kind of hit home with me, and did that for about 3 years, and then I made the leap and opened my own place. So that was 11 years ago now.
Was there kind of one moment when you realized, hey, this is going to work?
Yeah, it's funny. Going in, there's always big risks. There's always a lot of unknowns. I had a fair amount of confidence going in only because I had a great network of trainers that I already knew, and I knew that was going to be, what would make me successful. So I had a good team. I knew that was going to be the hinge. So I felt pretty good about it. But I would say it was about the 2 to 3 year mark where we gained enough momentum and enough people on our team that we really were starting to do well financially. And at that point, I sort of knew that we were onto something, and people were happy, and we were continuing to grow. And so it's been great.
It sounds like a really integral part in the success of this business has been all the people that you've worked with, people you've had on your team, people that you worked with in the past. So who are some of the women in particular who have inspired you the most or helped you as you've been on this journey?
Well, one woman in particular that I had the super amazing opportunity to work with was Jackie Joyner-Kersee, who is a world record holder. She was in track and field back in the 90s, and she was actually one of my idols. I knew her from a distance, and I got an opportunity to coach her right as I was transitioning from being an athlete myself, right in that period where I was sort of lost and not exactly sure what I was going to do. And that was the first time that I got to take something that I was knowledgeable in and passionate about and use that to help somebody else be successful. And so that experience changed me, both from having the opportunity to work with someone that's at that level that I had looked up to, and also to realize that I had the skills to help somebody. That really was a great learning opportunity for me.
How did you first get connected with Ashley and get involved in her business?
So I met Ashley way back in 2003, and I was a fresh graduate right out of college at San Francisco State. And I met her through a mutual friend that had an ex-boyfriend that was a trainer, and she was like, oh, you've got to meet this guy, and he works at this gym. And so I met him first, and he was training at Axis. So I went there, and we kind of talked about training, and he kind of showed me what that gym was all about. And once I stepped foot in there, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to work here. This is totally my thing. And so because I went to this gym Axis, I then met the manager at the time, who was Ashley, and she was in Mountain View. So I met her and was really nervous and went through, 5 or 6 interviews, everything from sitting down talking to my background to hands-on training other trainers. And I was so scared and so intimidated because I knew how great these trainers were. And I felt like I didn't know anything yet at the time. I had a lot of book knowledge, but I didn't have all the hands-on experience, right? I thought for sure I wasn't going to get the job, and a couple weeks later I get a call from Ashley, and she tells me, I'd like to offer you a position with us. And so that's how we met and haven't turned back since.
What went through your mind when she first told you that she was thinking about opening her own gym?
Well, so that was in 2006. So I actually took a little hiatus. I took some time off due to some family things. And when I found out about her gym, I actually was ready to get back into training because I had stopped training for a year. And when I was ready to jump in, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back to that same facility. And it sort of just, everything came together, and it just felt like it was really meant to be, that I was really meant to be in the industry. When I found out about Ashley opening the gym, I thought, wow, this is the perfect opportunity for me right now to get back into training again and to work for myself and not be under, kind of a big company. And then when she told me about this big facility and all the things she wanted to do, I just thought, why wouldn't I want to be here for this?
As a woman in a traditionally male field, Ashley's faced more than her share of bumps and obstacles along the way. But she always has a way of looking at the positive and turning those perceived roadblocks into advantages. It sounds like you've been able to check a lot of dreams off on your list so far. So what's left? What is your vision? What are some other goals that you have for Evolution Trainers and for yourself?
Well, first I want to say, I don't want to sound like it's been a cakewalk and I've never had mistakes, or, there's definitely been bumps along the road, and there's been, that time before I opened my studio, I was really unsure if it was going to work out, and there's been some hard times in that 11 years, but I do feel really fortunate and that it has gone as well as it has. And I think my goals now are continuing to do more business coaching, helping other studio owners and other fitness professionals so that we can really give people the opportunity to have more success, and also to continue doing what I'm doing here at Evolution Trainers. We do really have a great community, and I plan to keep it going for another 10 years plus. So,
was there ever a time in those early days when things were still a little bit uncertain that you kind of just felt like you wanted to give up and experienced, some really big obstacles?
So on my way to opening my studio, there was a few years where I was trying to figure out where I was going to be, what I was going to do exactly, and there were definite days where I just didn't think it was going to happen. I remember days where I just felt so kind of despondent, like, what am I going to do? Where is this going? And I kept hitting roadblocks of not being able to find space, not knowing where it was going to be, not sure if I could afford it. And it was really hard during that time. And that's why now I think, we talked about the success I've had, and that's great. But I guess those people that aren't there yet, like, if you stay the course, if you're persistent, it can happen. But don't look at the people that have been successful and think it's always been easy. I mean, it comes down to perseverance, really believing in what you're trying to do. And there are going to be those hard days. So have a good support system that you can cry on their shoulder on those days when you're having a rough day, and then get back on your feet the next day.
And we're joined here in studio with Kate Rooney. Now, Kate, one of the things I really got from this piece from Ashley is that you not only have to be physically strong, but also mentally strong to really be so successful in a male-dominated industry.
You do, and I think for Ashley, it comes really naturally. She was a very successful Division I NCAA athlete. As we mentioned in the piece, she won the national championship, and that kind of discipline that made her be so successful as an athlete at a really early age, I think has really helped her as she went on to pursue her own business, and it's just made her capable of doing things in a much stronger and more disciplined way.
Yeah, and going from 7 trainers to 40, I mean, that means that they definitely have a belief in what she's really doing there, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the dream of every business, right? To see your business grow at a crazy rate like that. But she's got multiple trainers and other staff members who've been with her from the beginning. And so the system that she has there, it's not just a system of training, but it's also the environment that she provides at Evolution Trainers that's a place that people really want to work.
And it's a great opportunity also for women who are working women trying to figure out what to do and kind of balance their lives, right?
Yeah, well, I learned a lot about that from my interview with Jen, which you also saw in the feature. She is a mother with another one on the way, and she just said that it's wonderful working with Ashley because she's so supportive of her needs. If she needs to change things around at the last minute or take some time off when she gives birth, all these things are really accessible to her, and she's just grateful to have that opportunity.
And she's also a business coach. Ashley's a business coach. So what makes her such an inspiration to maybe somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of what you alluded to before, the fact that she is so strong and so successful in establishing her own business, but also that she I hope you got this from the interview, but she is just such a warm, friendly person and really approachable and easy to talk to. And I think that that's something that I imagine serves her very well as a coach.
Oh, I can only imagine. Well, thank you, Kate. A great story. Thank you so much. And when we come back, we'll learn more about NBC Sports Bay Area's feature, Tomboy.